Welcome back to the show, and thank you for listening. My guest today, her name is Cowans, and she is a video creator. She has a YouTube channel called Sky Life. She has over 750,000 followers across all of her platforms, and I first met her a few years ago. She is in our community in LA, and since then I've followed her journey, and it has inspired me so much because she is a very successful content creator. She's an adventurer, she's a storyteller, and oftentimes that can cause us to go off the aligned path and create things because of the algorithm or because it's what people want. But what I see in Sky is that she's always creating based off of what her highest curiosity and excitement and joy, and her content feels so authentic and it's so interesting and intriguing, and I'm just always been really impressed with her. And so I was so excited to sit down with her today and really just talk about her journey of how does she stay authentic with her content, and what is her creative process, and how has she really just stayed true to herself throughout this whole journey. And so I'm just really excited for you guys to hear about our conversation today. She has a community called the Vibe Tribe, which is super awesome. She's doing a retreat in Costa Rica in January, and I think that you're just going to really resonate with what she has to say. Well, Sky, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ashlyn.
You're welcome. I've been so excited to do this because, one, since we've met, I've been following your journey, and I have been super inspired by the way you do your channel. And just like, I was actually looking at your channel today, and I was like, it's funny because it's called a channel. It's like your channel of like your inspiration and your ideas into the world, and it feels so authentic to you, and it feels so just like congruent with your journey, and it feels easy, and it just, I've watched your videos and I'm like, I'm inspired because I think as a creator it can be really easy to think about how your ideas are going to be presented into the world, and that can convolute your authenticity. And so I'm excited to chat, and I think that I'm excited to chat about your creative process and just all the fun things.
Wow, it's like you're reading my mind, because all these things are things I think about constantly. And when you said it's a channel, it's a YouTube channel, but that's how I see it, is that it's a channel for ideas, it's a channel for higher intelligence, and I'm just clearing my channel and my vessel to allow whatever wants to come through me to come through. It's fun, but sometimes I feel like, is this congruent? Like, I do question, am I creating a cohesive brand?
Yeah.
Because I've been curious about so many topics, and I allow myself to follow my curiosity. That's the whole point of the channel and why I started in the first place. But I started with health and wellness topics, and then all of a sudden I'm making documentaries about alien abductions and Satanists and all these things that led me down this deep rabbit hole. And I'm like, is this like what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this the way I'm supposed to create a cohesive brand? And I just said, honestly, fuck it. I just want to create. I just want to express myself. That's why I do this.
Hell yeah. I love it. And I think it's hard to do that because it feels so vulnerable, because you're like, actually, like, this is me expressing myself, and I'm not just like holding anything back, because I think sometimes we can hold things back to just feel safe.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely come across that feeling so many times doing this and making these videos, is I find myself unintentionally being in such a vulnerable state, and everything from in the production process of actually filming the video to then releasing it, I feel terrified about how it's going to be received. But there's just something more powerful. There's a bigger force that's pushing me to press publish every time.
Wow.
Like, I have to.
I was going to ask you if you feel that like fear in your creative process, because my friend just sent me a meme the other day, and it was like what we think the creative process is like. And it was like idea, straight line creation. And then it was like, what it actually is like. And it was like this massive zigzag line of like inspiration. Wait, this is a shitty idea, but wait, I kind of want to do it. But like, wait, I don't know how. And like, how is this going to be? How do I even do, like, all this stuff? And I feel like I so resonate with that. So it's kind of also relieving to hear from you, someone who's been doing this for a while. You have a pretty successful channel that you're like, no, like I feel fear to post this stuff.
Absolutely. I see the creation process as very similar to the actual birthing process. When you're birthing an idea into reality, it's not meant to be comfortable. Sometimes it is. Some people have childbirth that's very easy and orgasmic, and sometimes that's the way the creative process goes, and other times it's really challenging and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of willpower and a lot of deep breaths. So I've kind of learned to accept that every idea that I birth into reality is going to be a different process, and it may test me, it may challenge me, and that's actually okay. Like learning to totally embrace all aspects of the creative process allows me to be more aligned with what actually wants to move through, because it's not just me creating here. Like I'm in union with other energies, and I'm in union with something that I can't explain. Like why I need to make a video is not just about me and my expression. I see it as for a higher purpose. I don't always know why I have to make something.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like that is creation. It's like the idea comes to you, but it's like, where did the idea come from? Like it didn't really come from us sometimes. Sometimes I think it does, but a lot of times it's like, where is it coming from?
Totally.
We don't know.
Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic, she talks about that.
I love that book.
Being kind of their own entities.
Yeah.
And
they choose you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you get to either choose them back or kind of like let them go. And then someone else might, they might choose another person, and then that person decides to take the leap with the creative process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm super interested in how you even had the idea to start your channel, because I know you were working with BuzzFeed, right? And then so like what was this, like what kind of sparked the idea, and also I think what allowed you to actually do it? Because I think a lot of times we can have ideas, but then it's like, how do we decide that the idea is good enough to do it and then actually do it?
Yeah. Well, when I was in college, I studied television news reporting, and I was very much on that path to get a job in news and climb the corporate ladder of the news world. Like there's a very straightforward path, and that's kind of what was brainwashed into me in university. And all of the foundational skills of journalism, I am so grateful that I have that background, because I think it comes into everything that I do. But I was not resonating with the news industry or the concept of being a news reporter. I was trying to do that and force myself to fit into that mold, because I thought that's what I was supposed to do and what success was going to be. And I felt so unlike myself. Like those years, I look back and I'm like, oh, no wonder I was so angry, depressed, anxious. I was doing something that was so out of alignment with what I'm actually meant to do. But I am so grateful for that time, because it really did allow me to learn so much. It was like boot camp in what I do now. But what ended up happening is senior year of college, I had this epiphany, and part of it was that I did my yoga teacher training that same year, and I got the most clarity I've ever had around my path, and what I felt was, I can't go into the news industry. That is just not what I'm meant to do. I really want to make videos though. I love I love shooting, editing. I love the concept of storytelling, and I know that I want to do that. Just it can't be in news. I can't like pretend to be some news anchor in like this weird robotic role. Like it just wasn't resonating. So I had the idea for Sky Life, my YouTube channel, in college. It was the earliest version of it. I just started making videos about health and wellness topics, because that was what I was excited and passionate about. And I wanted to share that through my videos. And that was the earliest version of my YouTube channel. Although when I graduated college, I was so lost. I didn't know how to monetize it. I didn't know how to turn it into a career. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt so lost. So I spent 6 months just going inwards. I was babysitting to make money, trying to figure out what I was to do. And in that time, I got like the strongest gut feeling I've ever had to move to LA. I couldn't really explain it, but I woke up in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. on a new moon, and I got like a lightning strike through my body. I shot up out of bed, and it was like, you need to move across the country. You have to go to LA. Just go. So I left like a month later with $8,000 I saved from babysitting and waitressing and no plan. And yeah, I knew that I wanted to make videos. I just didn't know how or what the path was. But I ended up getting an internship at BuzzFeed and then a fellowship. And I was producing content constantly. It was like boot camp and content creation. And I learned so much. It was incredible. And it was so challenging. Like, it really tested me in so many ways. But at the end of the fellowship, you know, I wanted to work there so badly. Like, that was my dream, was to work there full time. Because what they do is, I don't know how it is anymore. It's like completely changed. I think he actually went bankrupt or something recently. I don't even know what's going on.
What is BuzzFeed even?
I don't know, but there
days?
were the glory days, and I was there at like the tail end, and I wanted to work there so bad as a full-time producer. But in their internship and their fellowship, it's kind of like, depending on the budgets, there may be spots for jobs. It's super competitive to like get a full-time job there. And I poured my heart into my fellowship program, and it was so fun because I got to be in the role of a producer, like producing content weekly and doing what producers do is like a trial, right? But then at the end of the fellowship, I didn't get offered a job, and I was devastated. I was so upset because I wanted to work there so bad. It was like my dream. But it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me, because I don't think I would have started Skylife. Like, I don't think I actually would have, about a year later, then started what is my YouTube channel now. That has been the most rewarding process of self-discovery. It's been such a roller coaster in the best way. I've learned so much about myself. So it really started because I loved making videos. Until I worked at BuzzFeed, I didn't know that you could have a career as a YouTuber or a video creator. Like, when I was in college, that was not talked about. I had no idea how you even monetize it or turn it into something you do for a living. So it was because I was at BuzzFeed that I understood then the business model and how it works, and that this was actually a path you can take. And I ended up working at a fitness brand after BuzzFeed. It was a job that I got through a video I had made at BuzzFeed. They offered me a full-time job. So I took that job after working and after not getting hired. I took this job, worked at a company called Fitness Genes. They were a DNA and genetic testing company. They would like give you personalized fitness and nutrition plans based on your DNA, which was really interesting. I learned so much. It was so cool. Yeah, I loved working with them. They're a fantastic company. I worked for them for 2 years, worked for also a YouTuber on the side, like side hustle. And then about 6 months into it, I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm working for these great people, but I have all these ideas inside of me. I feel like I'm going to explode if I don't do something with this. And that's when I thought maybe I should start Skylife again. Now I have all this new knowledge and I understand how to actually do this on YouTube. And I just started developing it kind of on the side. And then, yeah, at one point I was like, I just have to do this thing. I just have to start. So I launched the channel about 5 years ago, and it's been a crazy journey. Holy shit. But yeah, it really just came out of like my curiosity. And at the time it was, I'm really curious about health and wellness trends and topics, and I want to document trying all these different things. And then it just kept leading me down this like yellow brick road of other ideas and passions and curiosities, and a lot into the realm of spirituality and alternative lifestyles, people who are living completely different lifestyles than like the status quo, people who are living in like fringe ways. I just found that to be so interesting. So I've documented a lot of different people in that category. But yeah, it took me about 2.5 years to actually do it full time. Like it was a grind in the beginning. It was a side hustle for a while. And I don't know how I did that. Like looking back, I was like an animal back in the day. That's incredible. Now I'm like, I want to be balanced and well. So
well, I feel like that goes back to just having, you know, seasons of your life where it's like, you know, there's a grind season sometimes, and that's okay. And sometimes like in that grind season, you just got to go for it and you build the foundation so that you can later kind of come back to balance. And that's a similar journey that I had too. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. When was the moment that you actually were like, oh, I'm doing this thing, like, okay, this is going to be successful? Because I'm guessing like, I don't know, like your first video coming back to the channel probably didn't like slap, or maybe it did. I don't know.
No, it didn't.
So it's like, when was the moment that that you were like, oh shit, like this is I'm doing this?
Wow. I don't know. I think that's such a good question, because I can't say there was one time. It's been such a slow burn.
Okay.
I can't say, oh, this is when I knew. I think I always knew from the start, I'm going to do this no matter what. Even if I had doubt, deep down, I'm like, there's no plan B. And I still feel that way because it's a journey. Entrepreneurship is not a straight line, as you said, just as ideas is not a straight line to creation. Entrepreneurship is a whole roller coaster in and of itself. So, you know, I'm still up leveling in many ways. You know, it's a whole other thing to go from just supporting yourself with something to then hiring a team. That's where I'm at right now. Is I've hired a team in the last year and they're amazing. I'm so grateful. I can't imagine doing it alone again, you know, but that's a whole journey, is to like level up the business in a new way. So, but I don't, there's no plan B. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. I just feel that this is exactly what I'm meant to do. And I don't know if it's always going to be on YouTube, but making documentary style videos that help people expand their perspective, or allow me to expand my perspective and explore these topics that I'm curious about. It's just the most rewarding, fun process for me. And eventually I think it will evolve. It has evolved. It's always going to evolve. But I guess I just from the start had a knowing that I have to do this no matter what. Like, there's no quitting. It's not an option. Even though I've thought about quitting, obviously, when it gets tough, of course you think about, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can keep doing this. But there's just something in me that keeps me going.
Yeah, I feel like to be an entrepreneur, and just to be, especially when you're like a solopreneur, it's like you have to believe in yourself the like most out of anyone, obviously, because it's like it's such a hard journey. Mm-hmm. And what do you feel like, is there anything that you feel like an internal quality that you possessed, or like, is it like determination that just kept you going, or like, you know, because there's so many things you have to figure out. And it sounds like you had a really good background in terms of like your journalism and then BuzzFeed and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what kind of kept you going? I know you mentioned this feeling of like, you're like, I don't even know. It's like my intuition or something that's just keeping me.
Absolutely. The intuition is huge, a huge part of it. I've always been naturally, I guess, determined or ambitious, but I've really gotten clear on why I'm doing this and a deeper reason. And it's definitely beyond me and my own desires. And I think that when you have that level of service embedded into what you do, it really does anchor you when things are challenging. And now, having seen the impact that the channel has had, just having the evidence of that constantly, people commenting, emailing, when I meet people in person, just seeing that impact, I know, okay, the intention that I had for this is come to fruition in reality. And because of that, I'm being called to continue.
Yeah, it sounds like you're speaking a little bit to like dharma, which is kind of like the spiritual purpose behind what you're doing. It's like you're not just making videos, you don't just have a YouTube channel. It's like the underlying kind of thread that pulls it all together for you is this dharma and is this storytelling. And from what I've seen on your channel too, it's to help kind of embrace curiosity over judgment, which I love so much.
Yeah, it's been a big lesson for me. And on my path, that's been a huge teacher is curiosity. You know, like I've faced so much self-judgment in the past. And when we judge ourselves so much, we naturally are judging others, right? And we, as humans, we're kind of designed to judge. It's not necessarily wrong or bad because it's embedded into our biology and evolution. Yet I think toxic judgment has become like one of the pitfalls of humanity. It's not helping when we're constantly projecting and judging. It creates so much division.
Yeah.
And we think we know someone else, and we can easily just like from the outside look at an individual that lives differently or has different beliefs and completely judge that person without actually knowing them at all. Like this is happening on social media all the time.
Yes,
but
social
really,
media is like the worst of it. It just makes it so much worse because it's a tiny bite-sized piece of content,
right? And
we're judging a book by its cover.
Exactly. And until you actually know someone and spend a lot of time with them and listen to them and open yourself up to being curious about them, I don't think it's like valid to have those judgments, but it's normal. But my mission has become to inspire curiosity, because in curiosity, there's such deep wisdom, learning, and understanding that happens. And it's been such a big teacher for me, even to be curious about what's going on within. So that is something that came later. It wasn't the original mission statement of Sky Life, but it's kind of become that.
I feel like it's almost like your dharma.
Yeah.
And it's like, whether it's your YouTube channel or whatever else you might create or do, it's going to be just like a thread of what you do, which is really cool.
Yes.
You know what's funny is I was watching it's kind of like the trailer for your YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was funny because I've thought about an idea for a podcast that would be called Curiosity Over Judgment.
Wow.
And the idea was to bring on, and maybe I'll do it at some point, but maybe someone will pick up the idea and do it. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be a little difficult to execute. But the idea was to have two different people from opposing arguments.
I literally have thought about this.
Have you?
Same thing.
Okay.
It just came up again.
That's the idea, the sort.
It is. I know.
Maybe we should do this together.
Dude, it just came up recently too, because I had this idea years ago, and then somebody recently like brought it up again.
Interesting.
And I was like,
it's in the ether.
It is. It is. Yeah.
But yeah, just having people like, it's like a vegan and a, carnivore.
That's the exact concept. I think this was a long time ago. I actually submitted it to some random like pitch thing for a podcast. Like, podcast networks. Mm-hmm. They were like, pitch us your podcast. This was like 7 years ago. And I pitched that concept.
Wow.
Vegan and carnivore.
Whoa.
Debate.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Can you imagine that would be fun? Having someone from the left and from the right come on.
Yeah.
Just there's so like a strong feminist and like someone on the other end. And the goal would be like, the intention is like, let's be curious about each other instead of having judgments, and then see where this conversation could take us and see if we could actually arrive at common ground. Which would be so cool.
It's so spot on to like, it's been in my consciousness as well. So it needs to be birthed.
It does. It does. Okay. So you talk a lot, you just said it needs to be birthed, and the creative process being kind of like a birth process. What is like your creative process? Is do you have a creative process, and like, how do you go about all of that?
Yeah, I think as a creative, you have to create good systems to constantly be making your art. And I definitely have built quite a efficient system, but creativity isn't always, it's not something you can automate necessarily.
Yeah.
As much as I would like to do that, because I'm very
Same.
like type A, but you just can't. So, but when it comes to ideas, I don't feel I ever struggle with coming up with ideas. I get ideas like just from life, and that's never been a struggle for me. It's usually I have too many ideas.
Yeah.
And then I really just go with intuition, and I go with what is like calling me. It's usually I'll have an idea maybe that sits on the shelf for like 2 years, but then it comes to fruition at the right moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like timing is important.
Yeah. So sometimes I have an idea and it's executed in a month. Other times it takes years for the idea to come to fruition. So I don't really have a process around, okay, here's like the idea and here's now how it gets executed in this amount of time, because I let that process be guided of like what ideas I choose to do. It's usually what I'm most excited about is what I follow. And then sometimes I'll try and create an idea for a video, but it's not working. And then I realize, oh, it's because like 2 years later, it was supposed to be in this other way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual production process, it's very, yeah, I use Notion. I'm obsessed with Notion.
I love Notion.
Like everything's in Notion. And we have templates for the entire production process from idea to distribution. And that's been super helpful to have that system. But usually the production process, sometimes it relies on other people's schedules because we're featuring different subjects. So usually I like to have conversation with them beforehand to really understand what they want to share. Like my whole intention is to allow people a platform and a voice to really like express who they are. And then I'm there to listen and be in their world and immerse myself in their world. So we usually talk about how that's going to happen. And then the post-production process is probably the most challenging part, the editing, the storytelling. I mean, I edited my own videos for years, and I don't know how I did that, because they're really complex, and
I can't even imagine.
No, I don't know how I did it either. Again, like I'm telling you, it was another force that was driving me like this, like, but I do have an editor now, and that's been super helpful. And we work really closely together. And between the two of us, always the best video comes when we're working as a team. And that's been a game changer to have a team that I can work with on these things. So yeah, the process, it's hard to say, okay, it's this every time, because it does change based on the idea.
Yeah. So you mentioned your intuition, like you let your intuition guide you. How do you feel like you've always been tapped into your intuition, or like have you cultivated that? And how do you know when it's your intuition kind of telling you and guiding you?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because I'm somebody who used to struggle with decisions so much. It was so hard for me to make a decision.
Same.
And really?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most important things when you're an entrepreneur or just anything in life, like, is to just make decisions quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you learn quickly that you have to kind of learn how to be a good decision maker.
Yeah.
And I've really used cultivating my intuition to do that. Yeah, I can look at analytics and use data to make decisions, but ultimately I'm always going to go with my gut and my intuition. I think that's a very feminine quality. Like the intuition within the feminine is very powerful. And I definitely didn't always have that. I think through my yoga practice is what was the spark to really start cultivating it, because when you are practicing, you're kind of forced to like take that time to really notice what's happening within your body, mind, and spirit. And before yoga, I didn't have any practice like that. So my yoga practice, I started for the physical benefits when I was 15, but it just started changing my mind, changing the way that I think. And then it's been through a number of different practices that I tune back in to my intuition. I think taking time every day to clear your channel and to like be in that state of presence, whether it's on the yoga mat or dancing or barefoot, hiking or meditation or breath work, or channeled writing and journaling, it's so important for me to take that time, because the answers come, they become very clear when you give yourself the space to listen.
Yeah. I know you've mentioned too, like play and inner child. Do you feel like that weaves into the intuition thing, or does that like help guide the ideas? And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have a picture of my little 6-year-old self on my phone. So every time I open my phone, I see her and I'm reminded to connect back to that pure, innocent wisdom. And ultimately, that's why I do what I do, because it has a lot of challenges. And ultimately, I do this for expression, for play, for fun. Like but fun isn't always easy. Like we forget that when we're playing games, especially when we're little, like when you're playing Manhunt, it's not always easy, like you're going to have to sprint really hard and like get dirty.
yeah.
And when we play games, it's meant to be challenging. That's why it's a game. So
I love that.
That's
point.
kind of like what I see life is as entrepreneurship. It's a fun game I get to play, and it's the challenges that make that game fun and exciting.
I love that so much. So many ideas. I'm like, I need to go put a picture of my inner child.
I got that idea from my boyfriend. He did it. I was like, is that like you on your phone? At first I was like, and I go, I love that actually. I need to do that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because it's, as adults, we get so far away from who we truly are without the conditioning and all the rules and all of the I should do this or I shouldn't do this. And so I'm just like, I'm inspired to do that now.
Yeah. I think back to my kindergarten graduation. They asked everybody, what do you want to be when you grow up, And I remember I said I wanted to be an artist. And at the time I thought it was drawing and painting, because I was really into that when I was little. But turns out I'm shit at that. But I see my videos as my form of art. And so I allow myself to be guided by the inner child who just wants to make art, and to let that be how I express and how I create, and not to be so attached as well. I think doing content creation on the internet and on YouTube, you have to let go of perfectionism, or else you'll never get anything done. You'll never get a video out, because you could spend forever perfecting your art. But to me, it's just, I've learned so much of just the reps. Like, just get it out and know that you're going to improve on the next one. It's okay if it's not perfect.
Yeah. Something that has worked for me is like putting it out at 80%. Like, you don't need to do 100%, which it sounds counterintuitive, because everything we're kind of taught, at least me, I was homeschooled and my mom was very like strict. And so it's weird for me to be like, no, just put it out at 80%, because it feels like it's kind of failing, or I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm not doing my best. And so that's helped me. But still, I would say I let perfectionism get the best of me a lot. And so how do you not let perfectionism get to you?
Wow.
Do you just put it out? Like,
honestly, yeah, I think I had to create, well, I don't want to use the word deadline. I guess I'll say it just for the concept of, I had to create deadlines to do this and bring this to be a full-time career. I for the first 2 years of my YouTube channel, I posted a video every single week, no matter what. Every Thursday, a video was going out no matter what. And yeah, that really pushed me to post things that I wasn't really that proud of. So there's like
practice.
It's a practice. That was just me getting in reps. Some videos I was really stoked about. Others I was like, I just need to get this video because this is the commitment that I made to myself. Now I don't do that because I only want to create what I'm excited about, but I still have to have a level of, here is the content calendar, here are the deadlines. And I switched the word deadline to lifeline because deadline, not that death is bad, it's part of life, but the deadline, like to me, it felt like stressful and like an end. Whereas lifeline is bringing more life to your creations, is bringing more life to your mission and your purpose and your dharma and your art. So we use the word lifeline.
That is so great.
Yeah.
And it feels more energizing and exciting.
Energizing. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the lifeline. And for us to create more life into this, we need to meet it. And yeah, so this happened recently with a video that went out. I didn't feel like it was 100%, you know, I felt like it was probably 80%, but I posted it anyways. And that's just something that I guess is now common practice doing YouTube. It's just something that I'm okay with. Although in the past it definitely was uncomfortable. It's still slightly uncomfortable. But ultimately, yeah, I would rather, now I've learned that your energy is one of the most important things to prioritize. Your energy and feeling good and being rested and being balanced and prioritizing your well-being is ultimately one of the most important parts for having a sustainable career, a sustainable business. And because of that, I no longer will, you know, pull an all-nighter to make something perfect. I would rather get it done and post it and get a good night's sleep. And that's going to serve me so much better in the long run.
Yeah, I love hearing that in the beginning you had these lifelines and that you just posted things that you didn't feel like 100,000,000% stoked on, because I feel like that gives me courage as well as others, I'm sure, where it's like, just kind of get the reps in, like you said, and through practice you will discover that you can do the thing. You've learned all these skills in the process, and in the beginning too, less people are like watching, you know? Yeah. And so it's like, you can have some leeway. Like, that's how I felt about this podcast. I'm like, you know, I'm not getting 1 million listens. So it's like, it's okay for me to not be perfect. And that's given me courage.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. It's very freeing to feel like I have nothing to lose here. And even so, I think we are afraid to release things and release our work because we're afraid of the judgment and how it's going to be perceived. And so we want to make it perfect so that we can avoid that. But once you understand that that's an inevitable part of the process, even if you made a piece of work that is 100%, you're so excited about it, it's perfect, you're still going to get criticism.
Yeah.
So then what?
Yeah. I was watching a friend's story and he was talking about that. He was like, step 2 of the process of like making money and, you know, living a life that's really aligned and say like being a creator is failing publicly and like public embarrassment. And as soon as you can embrace public embarrassment, then you're on your way to success.
Yes.
And I was like, I love this because it's so
to.
true. Because if you just try to avoid it, then you'll spend your life hiding, because there's always going to be someone that doesn't like what you're doing. And it's like, great, who cares? There's billions of people in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Public failure, you know, it's not even failure. It's just learning. That's what we're all doing here on earth. We're all just learning.
Yes.
So it's like, we don't have to make it so big, you know, even though it can feel that way. But I think that's part of the reps. Like, I've kind of like, I get a little bit, certain things trigger me, I guess. Like, the things that trigger you are always like what you feel like there's some truth to that, you know?
Right.
So like that happens from mean comments or whatever, but I've just learned like, okay, like I'm just gonna keep going, like, and it can be uncomfortable. Like people have tried to like cancel me on TikTok, and I'm like, you know what do you want me to do? Like, I'm not gonna go hide in a cave. Like, what do you want from me? I'm going to keep doing what I feel like is in service and in alignment, and I will face criticism, and that's okay. And it makes you stronger. Yeah. It makes you way stronger and more in alignment and in tune with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who wants to create and put their work out there and their message out there, but they are also concerned about like the algorithm and all of these other things? It's like, what advice would you give to them?
Such a great question, Ashlyn. Holy shit. Okay, because I've been through all of this in terms of actually being swayed by the algorithm and what I think will get views. And I've experienced in several instances thinking, wow, this idea is going to be a banger. It's going to go viral. Like, this is brilliant. And it flops. And I'm like, what? It's so frustrating. And when that happens a couple times, you realize, okay, well, that's not a great way to, that's not a great method for me deciding what I create. If I'm being driven by that, then why am I doing this? And it's a hamster wheel. It's a cycle that is unsustainable. It's not fulfilling. I've already like gone down some of that path, but what's always brought me back is my anchor and my why and my mission and my dharma for creating. So I think giving that up as like, okay, the algorithm can also be like, it's good information, it can really like be a nice ally it's like a consultant, I see it as like, okay, I'm going to consult with this algorithm and make it my friend and look at the analytics. Yes. But I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to let it guide. I'm the CEO. I am the one in the driver's seat. I'm the creator. And ultimately, my heart, my soul is what is the driving force. So getting in tune with that is the most important thing. And it will be the thing that keeps you going when it's challenging. It will be the thing that allows you to create a long-term sustainable business and allow you to continue to create your art for years to come. The algorithm game is a dead end.
Yeah. So it's like, it's basically just focus on your curiosity, focus on what excites you and energizes you. And you can use the algorithm as kind of like a little, like you said, a consultant. I love that. Where it's like, okay, let's put out an idea. And then it's like, okay, like, how could I even convey this message? It's like, maybe we keep the same message, and how could I convey it maybe a little bit differently or more in a more engaging way? But ultimately, it's like just using it as a little bit of a information data point rather than I need to create this solely for the algorithm. And it's like, it's going to dilute my creation.
Yeah. I think following your excitement is the most powerful place to start. If you're a creator and you're kind of like overwhelmed by, okay, how do I do this algorithm thing that I need to please? And I have all these ideas, but following what you're most excited about, I think is a beautiful path to take, because it ultimately will unfold into a lot of truth that you discover. So excitement is my priority as a creator right now. And yeah, I think for me, looking at the YouTube analytics is really important. And it does give me great information, but I do see it as a piece of the puzzle and a helpful tool, but it's not the thing that's driving the ship.
Right. Yeah, and we also we personify the algorithm, I feel like, when the algorithm is actually people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So are people engaging with my content or not? And so it's kind of like, okay, so using that information to, like maybe I'm not quite reaching the person that I really want to reach. And that can be valuable because it's like, we want to actually reach the right people with the mission or the message that you're trying to convey. And so, I feel like when I realized that it's like the algorithm is not just this weird like thing, it's like it technically, it's like if the certain amount of people engage with your post, if it's like, then it gets pushed out and then it gets pushed out and then it gets pushed out. There is a layer of, AI and things like that. But it's just interesting to think about that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's not like this big bad thing. Like it's actually like really helpful, and it does allow us to understand what's resonating with the people you want to impact and reach. And on YouTube, a lot of the algorithm, the first metric is title and thumbnail. So it took me like a long time to understand that I should be putting more energy into that, because if I've poured my heart and soul into this piece of content and then I'm not really focused on the title and thumbnail, okay, nobody's going to click on it. So that's been also a game changer, to just prioritize title and thumbnail as being part of the craft, part of the creation process and the art. And it's like, actually it can be really fun to figure out how to package your idea in a way that will impact and resonate and like be something that is is cohesive, is something that sparks someone to click. Like it's part of the craft.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like if you like if you have this beautiful creation, it's like spending some time on the way that it's just packaged and delivered to your audience is actually kind of important and can be a beautiful creative process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. To circle back to the excitement piece, I know you mentioned that you've kind of always been into like health and wellness, and you also mentioned that your energy as an entrepreneur is like your number one most important kind of asset. And I've heard the phrase like your energy is your currency, which I totally feel. Do you feel like that has helped you a lot when it comes to your like ideas and even feeling excitement for things and your curiosities? Because I know when I'm in like a blah state, I'm not inspired about anything.
Yeah, right. No, it is my number one priority is my health and well-being. And that encompasses so many different things. And I think that's why I started this in the first place, because I was really passionate about helping people with their health, because I think that it is so important. And I've found that throughout my whole life. Like when I come back to focusing on my health, everything starts to align. Everything starts to work itself out around me. But if I feel like shit and I'm not prioritizing that, like everything goes to shit. And I didn't understand though when I was younger, which is crazy that like nobody taught me this, how important sleep is. So I was doing all the right things in terms of health and wellness, like exercising really hard, like over exercising, like being really strict with my diet and not sleeping, thinking, oh, I have so much energy and I'm taking care of myself so I can afford to not sleep as much and like work harder. That was a disaster. So I learned that the hard way. If I could go back and tell my younger self one thing, it would be, bitch, sleep more.
That is so funny.
Yeah. So now it's something I really prioritize. So yeah, I find that is my top priority, is to take care of myself first and foremost. And then everything comes from there, from that aligned state of feeling good. Feeling good should be the top priority as an entrepreneur and a creator. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah, totally. Do you have like I don't know, like evidence to support, like meaning like, do you have, it's like, why is it so important to you?
Why, health or sleep?
Or
I'm like, sleep, I can just talk about sleep all day.
Your well-being.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of evidence for times when I felt out of alignment with that, just feeling completely lost and not in touch with my truth or my intuition. And during the times of my life where I was sleep deprived, I was not fun to be around. Like I was not creating from an energy of joy and excitement and passion and love. I was creating from stress and anxiety and not enoughness. And so I was literally not getting enough sleep. And I was mean. I was like, ugh, like who the fuck was that person? And there's research that if you're sleep deprived, you're like, people want to be around you less. I'm like, no wonder in college I was a disaster. So thank God I learned that, even though it was like, wow, how is this something that happened? Like, how did that even happen?
I just don't feel like we are taught how to take care of ourselves in terms of, because you're basically relying on your parents to teach you this, because otherwise where else are you going to learn it? Because school doesn't really teach you. I mean, you go to school and school lunches are fried chicken and pizza. And so it's like you're relying on your parents. And when I think about my parents, no offense, parents, love you guys, but it's like, you know, like both of my parents don't exercise. I mean, my mom plays tennis, but it's like, you know, neither of them modeled exercise. Neither of them modeled how to eat. And so it's crazy that we're just not taught this, and it's so important to our life. Like, it's like our body is our home. It's like wherever you go, there's your body.
It's so important. And my parents were pretty into health in terms of, okay, exercise was a part of my lifestyle growing up, eating well. My mom was really into like alkaline diets, but the sleep thing, like my parents are workaholics. They're like really hard workers, and they often would maybe sacrifice sleep, or the energy was like, you can push through, you can do it. Like you can stay up late and study and then still like get on the soccer field and practice. And the energy was just like work, like push it, you can do it, you know, rather than maybe you need some rest. Maybe you're so overwhelmed and stressed because you need to sleep for a couple extra hours. You know. So it's very simple, very, very simple. But yeah, we're not taught these simple things.
Moral of the story: sleep, you guys.
Yes, if you get anything from this, sleep more.
I love it. Sky, I know you have a retreat coming up and it looks so awesome. Tell us more.
I'm so excited. This is the second year that we're doing this retreat. It's called Awaken the Dream. It's in Costa Rica.
Literally the most beautiful place.
I know. It's been somewhere that has provided me with such deep transformation. Just the land there, it just like brings it out of you. And that's why we decided to do the retreat there. It's this January 2nd to the 7th. And it's co-hosted with my dear friend, Andrew Seven Seeley. He's a fantastic yoga teacher. And also my friend, Hava Bloom, who is just such an amazing healer. And yeah, the intention of the retreat is really to provide everyone with the space to get ultra crystal clear on what intentions and dreams they want to awaken for the new year. And yeah, it's really fun. It involves a lot of transformational modalities, breathwork, ecstatic dance. We do a beautiful cacao ceremony with the local indigenous communities there. And that's also a big part of it, is really connecting to the land of Costa Rica. And it involves adventure and excursions. I kind of wanted to create what you see on my YouTube channel, Sky Life, like in real life, in an in real life experience. And yeah, it was so rewarding to like bring together the community in real life. And I'm so excited to be doing it again. So yeah, I'm stoked about it.
In real life events are so life-changing. When I think back to my life, like I'm so grateful for online things that I've done. And then also the in-person retreats and things that I've done. And, you know, we have mycelium, and it's like, there's just like something about getting together with like-minded people, and you're exposed to so many different things, and you discover things about yourself when we're in this experiential world. And it's just the best. And I feel like this is going to be the best way to kick off the year ever.
Oh my gosh. It is so
like guaranteed to have the best year.
No, absolutely. Because that's also part of why I created this retreat, was because when I started taking intentional time in a container at the start of the new year to like really embody and ground it in my intentions, I watched my entire year, my life just transform just from the root of that. So that's really what the experience is designed to do.
Yeah, I am a huge like like my favorite holiday is New Year's Eve.
Woo!
Like it really is. And I am like psycho about like I do rituals,
Yes,
I
yeah.
journal, I create ideal scenes, I visualize. Like I'm like I feel like the energy of a new year is so powerful, and I always choose a word for the year. My word actually this year is create.
Girl, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
The one word, my word is excitement.
Ooh,
For this
I
year.
love it. I swear it's the best life hack. Like
it is.
2 years ago, my word was intuition. And I swear that year changed my life.
Wow.
I was like cultivating my intuition because it was like everything I'm doing this year, I'm tapping into my intuition. And I made like certain mistakes or I didn't listen to it at times. And it was all this like whole feedback data of like, oh, this is what your intuition is saying. This is what happens when you don't. And it's like by the end of that year, I was like, I am one with my intuition.
Yes.
Like, and so anyways, life hack.
No, it really is. Like I've done the New Year's things where you write down a bunch of goals, and I've even done like 3 words and I forget the 3 words.
Yeah.
But one word is an anchor.
It's an anchor.
Yes. And even now it's October and I had this moment where I was like feeling out of alignment, and I did a little ritual for myself, and it came right back to, you have to continue to follow your excitement. That was your intention for the year, and that is what you're being called to do. And it's just such a fantastic life hack, as you said. Like screw the resolutions, like get clear on that one word and embody that one word and watch your life transform.
Friggin' mic drop. Like honestly though, it's like what do you want to call in? And this is perfect. We're doing this in October. It's like you got a couple months to think about it, but it's like, what do you want to call in for the year? It's like, what's the energy or what's the essence of like, what's an internal quality that you want to embody? Because when you embody that, then your physical reality changes also. Because it's like transforming on this inner level, and it's like a domino that just goes and affects everything else.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great. Love it.
So I'll see you in Costa Rica.
Yeah, maybe. Is there anything that you feel like is on your heart before we wrap this up that you would like to share that feels like from your intuition or your heart that's coming through?
Yeah, I think all of us come here with a very unique gift. And as children, we know what that gift is. We can feel it. We don't know how it maybe is going to unfold in the world, but we can feel the sense of our unique gift. And then it's really just through conditioning and programming that it kind of gets hidden or swept away or pushed away, and we forget. And I think the best thing we can do as adults is remember what that inner child, what they wanted to create, what got them excited. And through that remembering, that is what we're here to share, and to let that be the guiding force of what we create in the world. Imagine if everyone in the world was creating from their pure, innocent little inner child, like what beauty and magic would unfold. It's so beautiful to think about that. Just a bunch of adults who are really just kids at heart.
I want to live in that world.
Yes, let's create it. We're doing it.
Let's do it.
That's why we're here.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you, Sky. This has been so wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. Yay.